Hello students, welcome to my channel. This is Satyan Mahajan. In last video we were discussing about the chemical reaction and we were discussing the reaction of zinc in sulfuric acid, and I have told that metal plus acid give hydrogen gas and the salt, metallic salt. So here you can see this was the zinc granules plus sulfuric acid plus H2SO4. They give hydrogen gas and zinc sulfate salt, right? So here we are discussing the chemical reaction, and now we'll get chemical equation.
Sulfuric acid to form zinc sulfate, a salt. Thus, the composition of the reactants changed. Hence, we can say that a chemical reaction involves a change in the physical and chemical properties, the composition and the physical state of a substance, whether an element or a compound. A chemical reaction is typically expressed in terms of a chemical equation. A chemical equation indicates the components in a reaction, the physical state of each reactant, and the products of a reaction. Thus, a chemical equation is a symbolic representation of the reactants and the products.
See, in this topic, two kinds of reactants. Suppose it was zinc, A is zinc and B is suppose it was H2SO4. After reaction, suppose zinc becomes ZnSO4 and hydrogen is separated. What happens? Two hydrogen molecules are being replaced by zinc. Now zinc sulfate is called as zinc salt. And this hydrogen gas liberates, and this sign shows arrow upward. This shows liberation of hydrogen.
Using their chemical formulae. For example, zinc reacts with dilute sulfuric acid to form zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas. This is represented in the form of an equation, as shown here.
Now see, zinc in solid state, zinc is solid, which is granule. Sulfuric acid is a liquid, and what it becomes? It becomes ZnSO4, which is a salt, और plus hydrogen gas. Symbols are written. जो भी रिएक्टेंट जिस स्टेट में है, तो S stands for solid, aqueous stands for liquid state, right? And G stands for gas state. So this is the equation for the particular reaction.
Solid zinc reacts with dilute sulfuric acid to form an aqueous solution of zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas. A chemical equation is made up of the following components. The reacting substances, known as reactants, are on the left-hand side. For example, in the equation you just saw, zinc and dilute sulfuric acid are the reactants. Therefore, they are on the left in the equation. The resulting substances, known as products, are on the right-hand side. For example, in the equation, zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas are the products. Hence, they are on the right. An arrow separates the reactants and the products, and also indicates the direction of the reaction. Thus, in the reaction you saw, the arrow indicates that zinc and sulfuric acid react to form zinc sulfate and hydrogen.
Yes.
Let's take another example that involves two substances. In the burning of coal, carbon reacts with oxygen.
See, it is a burning of coal. Burning of coal means what? Coal means carbon compound. Carbon compound, when burns, it gives carbon dioxide. If, one more thing, if oxygen in excess, if O2 is in excess, बहुत ज़्यादा एटमॉस्फेयर में ऑक्सीजन है तभी CO2 बनेगा. बट अगर ऑक्सीजन क्या हो जाए, लेस अमाउंट में हो जाए, तो क्या बनाएगा? कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड, right? So this must be understood. In excess of oxygen, carbon burns to form carbon dioxide, and in less amount of oxygen or in lesser amount of oxygen, it forms carbon monoxide. See, in left side, this is the carbon, which is the coal. Coal is burning, and after burning, it gives C carbon and 2 oxygen molecule. This gives CO2. Right.
All the
So C plus O2, this gives
reacts with oxygen
CO2. Correct. Now,
to form carbon dioxide. In this reaction, carbon and oxygen are the reactants and carbon dioxide is the product. The chemical equation for this reaction is as shown. Solid carbon reacts with oxygen gas to form carbon dioxide gas. In chemical equations, you denote a solid with S, a liquid with L, a gas with G, an aqueous solution as AQ, a gas produced with an arrow pointing upward, precipitate formed with an arrow pointing downward. The reactants and products are separated with an arrow which points in the direction of the reaction. Let us consider the reaction of iron with steam. Solid iron reacts with steam to form solid iron oxide and hydrogen gas. This reaction is represented as shown.
now this is solid iron oxide.
A symbolic representation of a chemical reaction is the first step in writing a chemical equation. The next step is to ensure that the equation is balanced, considering the law of conservation of mass.
Yes, in this topic, we have discussed how to write any chemical reaction. For example, zinc plus sulfuric acid, it gives ZnSO4 and hydrogen. This was the presentation. Zinc plus H2SO4, it gives ZnSO4 plus hydrogen gas, and one of the example was C plus O2. C
All the time. All the time.
In this topic, we have discussed the reactions. Now in next topic, in next video, we will discuss how to balance any chemical equation, right? How to balance any chemical equation. Suppose C plus O2, it gives CO2. It's very normal equation because it's already balanced. But if I take example N2 plus H2 and it gives NH3, this equation is not balanced yet. Now we have to balance it. Firstly, we have to go for the entire rule, how to balance the equation. Then we'll be able to balance any chemical reaction.